Welcome everyone, welcome to my show, Cutting the Mustard. I am going to be making barramundi and a mustard cream sauce. I'm also going to be making barramundi and a mustard cream sauce. I'm also going to be doing a wild mushroom risotto and then some cauliflower. The stem is tricky, so I'm just starting with cleaning up my mushrooms. I'm dicing up the stems because I'm going to use those in my stock for my risotto. And then I'm also going to be using the caps stirred in. Now this risotto is going to be the most hands-on part of this. Everything else I have planned today is just going to be really easy, simple weeknight meal fix-ups. But I love risotto, so why not just do a risotto while everything else on the menu is going to be very easy to put together. I have some shiitakes here, and I am just cleaning them by using a damp paper towel. Clean what I can off there. You don't want to do this until right before you're doing your mushrooms because they can become slimy, they'll absorb the water, and will just become not a great texture. And I'm using the whole mushroom. Oftentimes I don't like the stems of mushrooms, especially raw, just because they're just so much more harsh and they have such a weird texture. But I love dicing them up, and I'll often put them in with my onions and garlic when I'm sauteing those prior to a dish recipe. I'm just going to be chucking these into my stock. How do we feel about the new moving camera here? Is it too jerky? Is it okay, guys? I'm testing that out, but I do have my other stand in case this becomes too much. Thank you for the roses. Thank you. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know as soon as it's not good, because I will get rid of that in an instant. Alright. I'm using 7 ounces of mushrooms. I did kind of start with these mushrooms before I got on here. My dice bits, and then my 7 ounces of shiitake mushrooms. Now, these aren't the only mushrooms I'm using. I'm also using, okay, come on, back over here. Okay, I'm also using dried wood ear mushrooms, and these are gonna go into my stock, and they're going to absorb. And one thing about wood ear mushrooms, the reason why they're called wood ear is when they're fresh and like on logs, they look like an actual ear. You should look up the picture, it's really cool. But they have a very mild flavor, but a lot of crevices to like absorb the flavors and stuff. I love having these dried mushrooms on hand. Voiceless, thank you so much. But it absorbs a lot of these, and I love using these for stock. I got these at an international market, and they were in a bag with a bunch of Asian characters that I was not familiar with. But it just said black fungus. That was the only English word that was on here. And that's what these are. They're wood ear mushrooms. So you might see them as black fungus. So I'm going to start with my stock, and I'm going to use those. Oh, my goal is achieved. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Oh, why? Okay, come on. Come back here. Okay. Getting used to this new tool, y'all. I'm sorry about that. So to this, I'm going to have my wood ear mushrooms. This is going to be the stock for my risotto. So we're gonna keep this separate from this pot. I'm gonna make the risotto in my Dutch oven, but I'm gonna keep it separate. This is just gonna be warmed up, so we keep adding it to the rice to absorb over time. So this, and then I also have some water. I'll be adding to that. Now with the water and the mushrooms in here, I'm not really adding water, I'm more so adding future mushroom stock, if that makes sense. So you can do all of it vegetable stock, all of it chicken stock, all of it water, and just focus heavily on the mushroomness of this stock. And then I'm also adding some thyme here. Gonna let that be part of that. Now, if you are unfamiliar with my content, they call me the Mustard Queen. I do my content based on like food that I add mustard to. I add mustard to all of my cooking. And no, not all my food tastes like mustard. More often than not, you can't really tell that there's mustard in there. It just adds a depth of flavor to it. So I'm kind of making this like a mustard stock. I got some of this Wober's creamy Dijon, and I have two different types of mustard in this recipe. One's going to be a whole grain mustard that I'm adding to my stock, about 2 tablespoons. And then I'm also doing creamy just so I can get that mustard flavor throughout. And whenever you see me do 2 different types of mustard to this, it's because some of it I want a lot of that Dijon flavor, and then some of it I just want those like whole seeds, because like these whole seeds are amazing in food. It's kind of, they just pop in your mouth. They call it poor man's caviar, you know? Oh yeah, I'm definitely thinking right now I should have whisked in the mustard before adding the mushrooms, but I'm just gonna whisk all this together. Got my wood ear mushrooms, that's about a ½ ounce of that. Close to 4 cups of chicken stock, 2 cups of water, and then about 4 tablespoons total of mustard, 2 of which are creamy Dijon and 2 of which are whole grain. And 2 sprigs of thyme. And I'm gonna let this warm up on there. I almost turned on the wrong eye. I do that all the time. Okay. And then I'll let this Dutch oven pan heat up to prepare for the risotto, because that's going to be the most time-consuming thing out of all this. Everything else is just really easy to put together, including some cauliflower that I'll be making. Ah, cool! I'll be making some cauliflower, and I'm doing this cauliflower just straight from the bag frozen. There have been too many times where I bought cauliflower, and then right after I bought this cauliflower, a day or two afterward, it starts browning and it becomes unusable. And that's happened too many times. So I'm trying to make cauliflower like better after it's been out of the freezer. And the key to doing that too is keeping it in the freezer until right before you're putting it in there. You don't want to thaw it out at all beforehand. You've got to keep it in the freezer directly to the oven. Alright, so I have about 3 tablespoons of olive oil, 2 tablespoons of mustard. I'm choosing a spicy honey mustard. This is Mrs. Mustard by Wober's Mustard. Okay, yeah, I think I might have to get rid of this thing. It's fun and all, but I'm not really moving enough to make it a thing. I'm sorry, y'all. But hey, you know what? I tried something new, and that's all I can say is I'm happy I tried something new, and maybe I'll try it again on another day. There we go. There we go. So about 2 tablespoons of the Mrs. Mustard and about 3 tablespoons of olive oil. And then I also have ½ teaspoon each salt, pepper, and turmeric. These seasoning, of course you want to salt and pepper whatever you like, how much you want to add of the salt and pepper. The turmeric, it just adds a nice layer of yellow. And if you're calling something like mustard cauliflower or something, the turmeric just makes it more yellow and it tastes more mustardy, you know? Alright. It's all combined pretty well. Directly out of the freezer. This is one of those, like, you can steam it in the bag kind of things, but I'm obviously not doing that. So this is actually like a rainbow cauliflower kind of thing, so I think that will look pretty cool. But okay, we'll pour all this in here. Hello, how are you? And I'm just gonna roll it up. Please tell me All right. Now, it's kind of difficult to coat everything with the mustard when it's frozen, but I think I did a pretty good job with all that shaking there. So when I preheated my oven's at 450 degrees. You want a very high temperature when you're roasting vegetables from frozen. It needs to be a high temperature because we got to go from frozen to steaming real quick, right? So, but another thing I do whenever I'm roasting vegetables, frozen or not, is I preheat the pan with it. And so that way our vegetables can kind of get a head start on the crisping factor here. Little spray oil here. Hear that? Already. Already cooking. Very much so, from freezer to hot container. I'm gonna stick this inside the oven. It's gonna take about 25-30 minutes. I'm gonna set a kitchen timer for 15 minutes so I know when to flip it. Because we want all the edges to be nice and brown with that. And that is one of the side items, and that's all we had to do. Yes, please share the live if it really helps Al Gore and his rhythm. You know what I mean? It really helps that. So if you could share the live, you can share it to me if we're friends. You can share it to, I don't know, if you don't have friends, you can just copy the link and that works too. So now I'm starting to heat up my Dutch oven for this risotto, which is also mustard flavored. If you are unfamiliar with my work, my name is Taylor. They call me the Mustard Queen. My username is Happy Mustarding because my content is all about mustard and making food with mustard in it. But I'm on Food Talk TV every Thursday night. Well, except next week. I won't be here next week. I'm going to Vegas. So that'll be fun. I've done zero planning for that trip. But, reset my goal. How do I reset my goal? I'll figure that out. Oh, set up new goal. I see. Yeah, there we go. So if you've never cooked risotto, it can sound intimidating based on how other people talk about cooking risotto because it's just tedious. It's just you gotta pay attention to it. So it works well if you're doing other things on your menu that aren't very time consuming, you know? So basically, and you can use all sorts of different grains to make risotto. I'm using arboretum. I can never say this word. It's always a word I read and never say out loud. Arborio rice. Yep. But I've seen people use barley. I've seen people use brown rice. We're just relying on the starch from the... We're relying on the starch from the grain to make it creamy, right? We're not really adding any milk or cream or anything to make it creamy. Oh, man. I don't wanna be you. Thanks for popping in. Hi there. Where is everyone from? I'm really curious where you're from. I'm in Tennessee. I know a lot of times we get people from all over the country and sometimes outside the country, so that's fun. Ooh, this shallot kind of got me. Ooh. Where's the mustard? Hi there. So I have mustard in the stock. Here, for the risotto, I do have 2 tablespoons of that each. I just threw some cauliflower in the oven that's coated with Mrs. Mustard, some olive oil, turmeric, salt, and pepper. And then I will also be doing some creamy mustard barramundi fish. Barramundi, I'm sorry. I've never cooked with barramundi before, but I'm pretty excited to work with it. Oh man, don't even get me on which mustard's my favorite because I love them all. Don't make me choose between my favorite children, but honestly Dijon just goes so well with anything. Like you get a lot of that mustard flavor, but then it's also, it can be smooth. A lot of Dijons are smooth and I love that smooth creaminess. Oh, difference between onions and shallots. You know, shallots are very similar to onions, but shallots really keep that oniony, that sharp oniony flavor even when they're cooked. They are slightly sweeter, not as oniony as an onion, but they keep hold after heat, if that makes sense. So that's my kind of definition. I don't have it, I didn't look into this before that, but that's just like my personal feelings about shallots versus onions. Like, I just prefer to cook with shallots rather than onions because they stay. I think shallots grill amazingly, yes. I love pickling shallots too. That's one of my favorite things. I'll do pickled shallots rather than pickled onions. Oh, I'm gonna start. Here, I'm gonna bring y'all over here because I think this is hot enough. It is hot, hot, hot. Or it's getting hot, hot, hot. Okay. I'm gonna start with my mushrooms first. Let's make this night last forever. Okay, that's really boring. Sorry, I'll bring you all closer to the pot when there's more action going on. Oh, really? You like to cook with shallots because it doesn't irritate their stomachs. That's interesting. I wonder, I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna have to write that down and figure that out because that is, I have an entire mushroom in here that I didn't chop up. Why didn't y'all tell me? That's really interesting that shallots are less bothersome to you than onions are. I wonder if that has the same effect with my other friends that are bothered by onions and shallots. I did not let my pan get hot enough, but it's fine. I'm turning up the heat a little bit. I'm gonna throw in a little butter. And then just to encourage the heat to happen more quickly, since I should have let this be more hot before throwing them in there, I'm just gonna throw a lid on it, let that steam real quick. In a few minutes, I'll cut it out and we'll be fine. Oh, I hate this song. I keep telling them I don't want this song on my device, and they're like, you know what we should do? Play this song. There we go. Okay, so once I get the mushrooms sauteed nice, you know, I was going to add these. I was going to add these to my stock, but I think I'm going to add them in with my shallots. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm changing up my recipe. Sorry, y'all. Oh yeah, that's working. That's working wonders. That's getting them nice and hot. There we go. I am really excited about these Whittier mushrooms. I have a huge stash of just dried mushrooms that I'll use for these type of soup or stir fry things. Whittier mushrooms are also really common in hot and sour soup. They're also common in stir fries and stuff. Not a very strong mushroomy taste, but they're there for texture. They have a lot of texture to them. A lot of times they're just dropped in hot soup and you call it a day with that. Also have a lot of crevices to hold in all those sauces. Lump. Yeah, I'm gonna save my diced caps here for that. For when I saute my shallots, because after I remove these from the stove, I'm gonna use my same pot, add my shallots, my garlic, my rice, continue toasting, and we'll get to it. Well, I'll go ahead and whip up my sauce for the fish. I'm gonna wait closer. I
I got like just a minute on here. Y'all, what are your favorite types of mustard? I want to hear it because Dijon's definitely one of my favorite types, but just because that's pretty pungent when it comes to mustard, but it's pretty standard to use in all sorts of recipes. I could basically make every single one of my recipes with Dijon. Although with the cauliflower, I use this spicy honey mustard. Huge fan of that. Send a picture, that's awesome. A calmer onion. I like that phrase to describe the shallots. It's an onion but calm. I will be using this garlic in the risotto, but may as well go ahead and get it chopped now. Hey Kaz, how's the picture? Is it okay? Are we having any issues? Good on your end? Yes, good to hear. Good to hear. So, do y'all ever listen to recipes when they tell you how many cloves of garlic to do, or is it just like a suggestion? Like, I feel like of all the recipes I ever see or read, or people will talk to me about making recipes, like, no one ever actually follows the garlic recommendations. It's either, oh, I'm not going to do that much garlic, or it's just a suggestion, I'm going to do 3 times the amount of garlic. Because I do fully support it being a recommendation, especially since with garlic cloves, they are all sorts of sizes. Like, how can you measure it? Oh, it was glitching bad? Ooh. Yeah, it's weird how sometimes with this app, a lot of times we're at the mercy of how they feel like working. Almost with these mushrooms, almost. I am personally not a fan of mushrooms that are raw. I cannot handle mushrooms that are raw. It essentially gives me a gag reflex. It just makes me sick. Can't do it, but I love cooked mushrooms. I love them when they're cooked, so that's why I'm like really making sure I cook them through, because I want to enjoy this risotto, you know. My husband will just eat raw mushrooms like they're nothing, but there's one of my favorite techniques to cook mushrooms is by cooking them in water. And the point of cooking them in water, and you're essentially boiling them right before you roast them, is that mushrooms are very porous and they can absorb a lot of water. We treat them like a vegetable oftentimes when they need to be treated like their own thing, which is a fungus. And so they can absorb a lot of water. So like the idea is to just boil them in water, and you can even let them boil until there's no more water. And then it's ready to saute, fry, and you get a better crisp on them from there. But with that, whenever I get the fumes from all those raw mushrooms, it makes me so sick when I boil mushrooms. So I can't do that method, but that's typically like if I'm treating the mushrooms the way that they deserve to be treated, as fungus and not as vegetables, that's how I would go about it. But it's okay. Maybe I can do it like with a lid and have my husband just open it up for me. Yeah, the mushrooms absorbed all that butter and olive oil that I put in here. So I'm gonna need a little bit more oil, a little bit more butter. And some people will say, yeah, add olive oil to your butter to increase the smoke point of your butter. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think if you just want to do that, stick to that. The only reason why I'm doing oil and butter is for the flavor here. All them shallots. All them shallots. Your ex didn't like garlic? Oh man, I can only imagine the amounts of garlic that you use now. Alright. Okay, I feel like I can bring y'all to the show now, which is the pot. I still have a bunch of the browning from the mushrooms that I did. There we go. I feel like I have just as much garlic as I do shallots, but I'm here for it. Alright, I think that's cooked properly enough, so we're going to add, of course at this point, as we're coating it and tossing it, we're going to make sure all of this is dampened with oil, butter, some sort, and we're going to let this toast. We don't want it to get too browned, we just want the rice to be a nice little golden color. So we'll let that get to toasting. And now I'm also going to put in my mushroom stems that I keep forgetting about, even though I talk about how important it is to focus on the entirety of the vegetable or the fungus. It's okay, the stems are in here, we're good. Meanwhile, my alarm for the cauliflower went off. Yes. Of course, fresh would have been best, but I had frozen. And honestly, I'm looking for more veggies I can just make from frozen and have them be so delicious. Now, if you were watching my show last week, I kind of did a similar thing, except it was whole cauliflower. I did coat it with oil and mustard before roasting it. But with that, after the cauliflower was roasted, I put it in a soup and processed it in the soup, and that was really good. But I did say that the cauliflower by itself works as a really great appetizer, or as a great side item. And the goal was reached again. Thank y'all so much. Okay. Yay. Y'all are amazing. Boss Queen, thank you. From one queen to another. Thank you so much. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Okay, so it's getting pretty toasty in here. So I do have my warmed up stock that I'm adding, but first I'm going to be adding my wine to it. You don't have to use wine. Ooh. You don't, I'm going to lower the temp on this a little bit. Of course, now it's hot. Now it's hot once I'm ready to do everything else, so it didn't give me this heat when I had the mushrooms in here. We're just going to stir and let it absorb the wine. Now, I've done this before where I also added the wine to my heated stock. You can do that as well. But I'm starting with the wine first because you may not end up using all that stock, right? But if you measure out this wine and you want to use the wine for cooking, you want to use all the wine. So we're going to let this absorb.
And the whole thing is that arborio rice, it's very, very starchy. And so we're basically using this rice's starchiness to make the creaminess. We're not adding butter or milk or anything like that. Oh yes, this is gonna be a lovely risotto. And if you weren't here for when I made this stock, I have a stock over here that is chicken stock and water, and then I also have dried wood ear mushrooms. I got creamy Dijon and whole grain Dijon in there. Thyme, yeah, no, pretty much it in there. The wood ear mushrooms, though, I'm excited about. Oh, thank y'all so much. Y'all are amazing. Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, Boss Queen. Yes, love it. I am excited for this mustard stock in here. If you are unfamiliar with my content, I do a lot of mustard related things, but it doesn't have to be like a, ooh, all of my food tastes like mustard. No, mustard just adds a nice little depth of flavor without you really having to add much to it. And mustard is relatively cheap as far as like flavor boosters go in this world. So I'm a huge fan of doing that. Let's add in the first of our stock. Now we do want to be stirring frequently to encourage it to absorb, and also when you agitate the rice, that's how you get, I'm sorry, losing track of mine. That's how you get it to be starchy. That's how starch is created, is by agitating it, but also at the same time, if you do it too much, you can make it gummy. So we're not wanting to do that. So we're gonna leave that alone and work on the fish. On the fish. On the fish. Essentially, I am just doing a creamy sauce for barramundi fish. Okay, we'll try and get, there we go. So I'm making a creamy sauce for barramundi fish, and if you're familiar with barramundi, it is essentially, they also call it Asian sea bass, right? And it's not a very common fish to use or work with, but it is really sustainable in that, like, when it's farmed, it doesn't feed off of other fish, right? So because it doesn't feed off of other fish, it takes a lot less fish feed to feed it, right? So it's like half a pound of fish feed to make 1 pound of fish, as opposed to like farm raised salmon where it's 3 pounds of seed to 1 pound of salmon. And then also, because it doesn't eat other fish, you don't have to worry about mercury or a whole lot of other diseases and stuff. So really cool on that front. Ooh, looks like I'm going to be using up the rest of my mustard for this one, which I have loved this whole grain Dijon mustard from Wilbur's. I have loved it so much, but it's almost gone and it makes me sad. It's okay though. Now I did half a cup of heavy cream in here, and I don't recommend using yogurt or other sauces with that, because this dish works because of the high milk fat that heavy cream has, right? So I haven't tried it with other things, and just like the risotto, I'm using 2 mustards here, but I think in my recipe I just had it be 1 tablespoon of the whole grain mustard. Hey! Oh man, y'all are amazing with these goals. Love it. Love it. Thank you. Y'all are incredible. So adding the mustard to this. Oh, I also have capers. I would have added more capers to this, but this is all I had left. So I'm going to be using them drained. I probably would have had my recipe call for 2 tablespoons, but this was all the capers I had in my pantry, so I'm just going to kind of chop them up to have them spread. Little nice briny yet floral olive-like creatures are amazing with seafood. Yes. Gotta keep it separated. also going to be adding some pepper. I'm sure I listed it in my recipe how much, but oftentimes I don't with salt and pepper because everyone has a different preference on how much pepper they like in their food. And then also you get, with salt, I always say salt to taste because it's not often made, it's not put in there for it to be salty, right? Salt increases the other flavors of it. So we're not adding salt for saltiness. So basically you taste it until it helps mellow out all those flavors. Hi there, so I have a mushroom risotto right here. I have some mustard cauliflower in the oven, and right now I'm working on my cream sauce for my barramundi. Which barramundi, it's just like a firm white fish, very similar to sole or tilapia or red snapper even. It's just a firm white fish, so anything that is a recipe with firm white fish you can use barramundi for. Now, this is always, so not always, but you won't see it fresh in the United States because this is grown in the Pacific Ocean, like in Asian territories. But the thing is with this kind of fish is that it has to be flash frozen as soon as it's fished, and that's part of the laws around these fishes, and that helps decrease the bacteria, so you are going, and the disease, so you are going to get the best fish possible if you get it frozen. And this is just one of those things I just love. I love keeping frozen fish on hand, and it makes me feel better that like frozen is often best for these things. So heavy cream, 2 different types of mustard. I got my capers, juice from a lemon, and salt and pepper in here. I don't think I added salt. I think I just added the pepper to it. Whew. So, there we go. Whisk that up together. Now, if I were to use half and half or milk or something else other than the heavy cream, adding all that lemon and the mustard would make it curdle. It would not make it like a sauce. Instead, what the lemon does here is while it does help coagulate it, it actually makes it thicker. So, into a little baking dish. I gotta get my barramundi. God, I've never cooked with this fish, but I've had it frozen for a bit and I'm super excited for it. Watch mouth. I'm gonna pat it dry before I put it in there. This came from frozen, of course, and I just thawed it today. Now with this fish, it is pretty common for it to have a grayish hue around there. It's very common for that to happen, so while it doesn't look like, this is a very common color for it. Now, because this is a mild fish, if it smells fishy, then that's when you know it's bad. This, I don't smell anything, right? It's a pretty mild fish as far as flavor goes. Yeah, this is the little bag that mine came in, vacuum sealed, and so I'm just kind of draining any sort of liquid into my sink before patting it dry. There we go, and it is skinless. I love Paramore. Started washing my hands after all this fishy behavior. So fun fact, I worked at an ice cream store when I was 16, and I worked in Franklin, Tennessee at this time, and there's this girl I worked with. So I worked at a Cold Stone Creamery, and if you've never been there, basically you can throw money in the tip jar and then they sing songs about ice cream to you, right? Like, so, here at Cold Stone, we're a super scooper family. Hey, hey, hey. Those are the types of songs that we sang for tips. And there was this girl I worked with, and she was best friends with Hayley Williams of Paramore, right? Or they were like friends when they were little. And she would just always complain. She was like, my best friend is the lead singer of Paramore, and I'm here singing songs about ice cream. So I can't listen to Paramore without being like, oh, and I'm singing songs about ice cream. I mean, same girl, same. Like, alright. Where did my fish go? Oh, right over here. Oh, but before I put the sauce on my fish, I have to check on my cauliflower because that timer went off. All right. I dig it. I think I'm okay with that. Yeah, I'm okay with it because it's still going to carry over crisping on the pan because that pan, I also preheated it with the cauliflower. Ah, there we go. If y'all don't notice too, is like I'm still continuously adding this stock to this. I'm making barramundi in like a mustard cream sauce, and I got some risotto on the stove top, and then also have some cauliflower I just pulled out. All of this is pretty mustardy. My username is Happy Mustarding. If you've ever seen any of my content, I do a lot of mustarding types of things. They call me the mustard queen on this app. If you've ever seen or heard me talk about mustard, you'll understand why. It's not like, oh, I put mustard on everything as a condiment. No, no, no. I cook with mustard so regularly. And it's the purpose of this isn't to make my food taste like mustard. It's to show that mustard has a great depth of flavor. It's such a great flavor booster, and it's super cheap too. So if you have a good set of mustard, or if you make your own mustard and it's good, then that's all you need. You don't need to, like salt, pepper, like that's essentially it. Salt, pepper, mustard, that's all you need for flavoring. But of course I add other things for flavoring too. Little salt, S&P. Oh, this is barramundi. They call it Asian sea bass, and you'll find it in the frozen section. You won't find it fresh because this is something that's made in, or it's fished out of the Asian Pacific Ocean. So you won't really see it fresh, but it's fine because they freeze it as soon as they fish it, and by freezing it, they also get rid of a lot of the bacteria and like the disease that can grow inside the fish. So it's a good thing that it's frozen. And also it keeps in your freezer for a million bajillion years. So that's also why we are cool with frozen fish. And also frozen fish, if you don't know this, it takes like less than 10 minutes to thaw frozen fish. So if you don't have frozen fish in your freezer just to like throw together things like this, you're missing out. I have so much frozen fish in my freezer. Hi, hubby. All right, it's beautiful cream. It's just heavy cream, juice from half of a lemon. Or was I gonna do a whole lemon? I think I wanted a whole lemon in this. Yeah, I want a whole lemon. I also have about a tablespoon of chopped up capers, and I have two different types of mustard. I have a grainy and a Dijon in here. Grainy for the texture, and then this smooth just to, you know, get some more of that mustardy flavor all throughout. Oh yes. Oh yes. My oven was at 450 for the cauliflower, but I just lowered it down to 400 for this. Because it's only going to need like 10 minutes to bake. There we go. Now this risotto is what's going to be taking up the rest of my time. No, mustard on a burn. Okay, let me talk about mustard on a burn, because if you look that up, you know, doctors will say like, hey, don't do that. That's not something that's really recommended, because, you know, mustards that we get out of jars and bottles are also going to have things like vinegar and going to have like spices and seasonings and things like that.
So doctors don't actually recommend that you put mustard on a burn. However, I have worked in a restaurant for many, many years, and that is something I've seen so many chefs do. They'll just pull out a bottle of French's and stick it on a burn, and you know what? It does help. The essential oil of mustard, or the flavor of mustard, is really great for burns. But like, the way that they did it in ancient Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine is that they would take mustard powder, just combine that with water, and then you put a rag on your burn, a damp rag on your burn, put that mixture of the mustard and water, because that chemical reaction that results from mustard powder and water is the essential oil mustard, is the flavor of mustard, and it's that specific chemical that's really good on burns. And I've done this before. I'm not a doctor, I don't recommend this. I'm just saying that this is, you know, what the ancient medicines talk about with this. And then you put another rag over the top of it and hold that there. I have definitely used that before. Of course, I'm not recommending anything except for, you know, you discuss these things with your doctor. You know, I'm not a medical professional. I'm just someone who reads a lot about mustard and how they used to deal with mustard in the ancient times. I think I need another... I'm out of paper towels. I mean, I'm sure I have more paper towels. They're just in another room, and I'm kind of busy mustarding over here. Yeah, remember guys, I'm not a doctor. Okay, so these are wood ear mushrooms. Actually, let me pull out the bag and let me show you what they were like. I had these reconstituting in my stock. I have chicken stock and 2 different types of mustard and sprigs of thyme and... oh, I know I put something else in there. And so I've just been adding that to my rice, slowly just letting that absorb. But these got absorbed with those. Let me show you what they look like dry. This is the bag I got them in. And it just says dried fungus. Yeah, these are what they look like. Now, when these are fresh, they're typically foraged, and they really do look like ears. You should Google a picture of them. They look like ears. They're amazing. But they're pretty mild in flavor. It's more of like, they just hold their texture really well to this. They're often, you'll see them often in hot and sour soup from Chinese restaurants. They're used in a lot of Chinese stir fries. Because they really hold their texture well through a lot of things. Oh yeah. We're just giving our risotto some texture other than just, you know, firm yet soft and creamy rice. Alright, I'll bring y'all back over here so we can check up on the risotto. Y'all, if you're not liking the live, please do that. It really helps Al Gore with his rhythm. Yeah. Now, all of these recipes are going to be on the Food Talk TV website if you want to check those out.
I know I need to add more liquid in there when the liquid that's in the pan is almost looking like creamy, like it's more starch than it is liquid. That's how we know that it's absorbed some. This is a tedious process, so don't make risotto unless you're committed to, I think maybe 20-30 minutes on hand time. But I made this with other dishes that are not so hands-on-y, so it worked for this one. I can lower the music. Sorry, I just saw it. I got you. Is that better, y'all? Dirty clothes. And this is the last of my stock. Now, as you're doing this and you think that it needs more, you can always add water or more stock or even more wine or more mustard. I'm going to do a little chef sample here. That is so good. It is almost finished. Yes. Whew. Alright, we'll go back to that. We're just going to let that finish up real quick. I'm going to be adding some parsley to this. Now, I actually came up with a very similar recipe, but without the mushrooms, and just did this recipe pretty much standard, everything else except for the mushrooms. And I did that for this collab I'm working on with Wober's mustard, and so that's why I'm using all sorts of Wober's mustard here. Oh, thank y'all for the follows. We do go live with food content every single day. There's always someone going live. My shows are always on Thursday, except next Thursday. I am taking that time off. So, but Thursdays at 7 Central are when you'll see me and my mustarding. Oh, it's almost there, y'all. Almost. I'll let this cook because I'm about to pull out my fish. Got 20 seconds. I happened to look at the timer and was like, did I even set a timer? I did. Oh yeah, it's gonna be Kaz next week, taking over cutting the mustard. Now Kaz, just because you're going on Thursday does not mean you have to cook with mustard, though it is a lot of fun. You'll know that it's cooked if it looks pretty white and at the center it flakes. Just me poking it with my finger, it is not flaking. So I'm sticking it back in the oven. I'm gonna give it maybe another 2 or 3 minutes. But it doesn't take very long to cook. So you do have to be cautious and watch out for it. Though it is a pretty forgiving fish. I'm gonna set a 3-minute timer. Oh, if you cook with ketchup, Kaz, I swear.
I'll be so mad. No, I'm kidding. I won't be mad. Sweeter. All right, almost. Alright, I think it's time to add the other things. It'll be fine if I add these other things. It's going to continue cooking a little bit, and I'm going to want it to stay warm for the plating of other things. So, I'm going to be adding other things now. Starting with all of these wood ear mushrooms that helped part of this stock, because this was soaking in the stock that I made for the risotto. Because when you make risotto, you gotta make a stock, and you gotta set it to the side, warmed up, and then continuously add it to this to absorb. Because we're not relying on dairy for it to be creamy, but we're relying on the starchiness of the rice. Oh my goodness, y'all. I'm also going to put about like a quarter cup. I haven't added dairy to it yet, but I am adding Parmesan Reggiano because I want to. I think I put like a quarter cup in my recipe. I'm just measuring with my heart. I think cheese is another one of those things. Just like garlic, you know. One of those like viewer discretion kind of thing, you know. What the kitchen wants to do, more or less. Cheese is always like a starting point. That's maybe a quarter cup, right? Looks about quarter cuppy. Oh gosh, I'm so bad. Like, that's definitely more than a quarter cup, but that's like an Olive Garden thing, you know, like, just tell me when. It's hard to tell me when. It's like, you know, just use your judgment. Oh, yes. And there we have it. There is our risotto. And just in time, hello. Yo, I do not time these things this well. It just happens to me sometimes in real life. Have I worked at Olive Garden? No, I have not worked at Olive Garden, but I did work at one of their sister restaurants that was also owned by Darden. And I never was jealous of anyone that worked at the Olive Garden. Alright, I'm gonna get a fork this time. Let's see. Okay, yes, it is flaking. It is flaking, but not as much as I'd like it to flake. I'm gonna give it 2 or 3 more minutes. Allie, hi there! I was definitely never jealous of anyone that worked at Olive Garden, for real. Hi, Allie, nice to see you. It's been too long. I haven't been live on my own page in a while, so that's why we haven't seen each other. But, one thing that like servers and bartenders hated about working at the Olive Garden, I mean, except for the, you know, unlimited cheese and stuff like that, is because the cost is so low for the food items when it comes to Olive Garden. My mushrooms from earlier, I almost forgot about those. But the food cost is so low when it comes to like starchy and pasta and all those things compared to the other restaurants like Longhorn or Capital Grille or anything. They didn't really have that high of a food cost, so they had a lot more labor cost, so they wouldn't cut servers or anything. Because if you've worked in a restaurant, you know that like when it starts to die down or starts to get slow, they'll cut servers because they need to chop off any, you know, sort of labor costs they can. But with Olive Garden, they didn't really have that necessity compared to other restaurants. So like they would just keep all the servers on all shift long. And yeah. I never set a timer for this fish. Okay, so one thing with risotto, when you are plating risotto, you need your plate to be warm. Typically, I'll stick it in the oven for a few minutes, like on low, but I have fish in the oven, so I'm gonna microwave my plate real quick. Just microwaving a plate over here. It's one of those serving, the way they say that it should be served. And then they also say that when you serve risotto, if it's done correctly, if you plop it on a plate and just like kind of spank the bottom of it, then it will just evenly spread over it. I'm not Italian, I'm not like a sucker for the way things are supposed to properly be made all the time, you know, but if that's how they tell me I need to make risotto, that's how they tell me. Also gonna add just a squeeze of lemon to this for that acidity. Yeah. Give it a little something. And I am turning off my heat because my risotto is chef kiss. Here, I'll give y'all a look at the risotto before we start plating, because this is risotto right here. Yes, very mushroomy. Yes, my mushroom obsessed husband is going to be in love with this, y'all. Come on, this is going to be so good. Okay, yes, this is flaking way better. See how it's like flaking a bit right here? That's what you're looking for this fish. You just need it to be white and it needs to flake. But I kind of want it like browned and bubbly over the top. So I'm going to turn it on high real quick on my broiler. Just real quick, just for a minute or so. Not even preheating my broiler, just shoving it in there. I'm going to give it 60 more seconds. It'll probably need more than that. Okay, the plate needs to be microwaved some more. Seriously, typically I just stick it in the oven for a few, but my oven is occupied. I don't cook every day on live, but on Food Talk TV we do go live every single day. My show is just on Thursday. So on Thursday nights at 7 Central is when I go live, except for next week. I'm taking a little vacay next week. But then, yeah, there's always someone on every single day. So if you don't, you know, pay attention to this content, you should. You should do the thing where you hit the creator thing and, like, be alerted when we're doing creator things on this app. There's a lot of great characters here. I'm gonna give it 60 more seconds. Yeah, that was microwaved really well. Y'all. Spanking it good. Yes. Perfect. then this mustard creamed barramundi is all nice and browned over the top. I have a little trivet here. Of course, everything's yellow because mustard, hello. Yes. It's creamy mustard barramundi. I also have some mushroom risotto. That's a bit too much. That parsley looks like I was trying a little hard. And then I have the cauliflower on the side. I'm not going to plate it with it because I want to take a photo of it with it, but normally I would just like plop that right on the plate. But since I'm posting these recipes to the Food Talk TV website, I want to be able to have it separate for that photo, even though all I did was olive oil, mustard, salt, pepper, and turmeric, and then tossed it in with a bag of frozen cauliflower and just baked that 25-30 minutes, flipping in the middle midway. So this is a very mustardy dish right here. That's so funny, Allie, that you say that. That's like the first time you've seen me use that microwave, which is so true. And all I was doing was microwaving a plate. Y'all, this is so gorgeous. Happy mustarding, yes, that is me. I'm so excited to enjoy this. I'm gonna feed my husband with it. You will see the website photos on these for, it is foodtalktv.com. And I'm happy mustarding. They also call me the mustard queen. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. I will see you in 2 weeks for my show the Thursday after next. And yep, this is my barramundi. I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye now.